mutilation, as we know, is a traditional practice. It's a traditional practice that is harmful to the life and health of the girl child. And it's a practice that preconsumed in situation of ignorance. Our forebearers that came about the practice of female genital mutilation, they never knew that it would be harmful. They felt that they are doing it in the best interest of the girl child, not knowing that it has no benefits to offer, but full of disadvantages. So female genital mutilation is harmful. We all know it because it hampers and tamper with the life of the girl child or a woman. It affects so many aspects of life. It's a rights issue, it's a health issue, it's a social issue, it's an economic issue. And so it's an issue that should be at the front burner and the public, face. It's an issue that should be discussed and that everyone should rise up to see to the end of female genital mutilation. It is detrimental. It is harmful.
Right.
As stated.
It is harmful. It is detrimental to the health of the girl child and women generally. Okay, so is this practice criminalized? Can anyone who practices it, can they be arrested or indicted in any way?
Yes, once it has been, legalized, then whoever that violates becomes a criminal. And so such a person, if caught, will face the full wrath of the law. And if you look at Nigeria today, FGM has been criminalized. And in most states of the Federation too. For instance, like I've shown here, since 2004, FGM has been legalized against. And we also have the Child Rights Act, and which has been domesticated in Osun into Child Rights Law. And we have the VAP that was recently, passed and accepted to in Osun State and in so many other states of the Federation. So it is a criminal act. Anybody caught in the act will be penalized.
It is a criminal act. Anybody caught in the act will be penalized. Can you give us a brief, maybe the penalties that comes with it, what and what, like, because to people it seems, what's the big deal? There cannot be any penalty. Is there any, can you mention a few of these penalties?
For instance, in Osun State, if you are a first offender and you are caught, you pay a penalty of 100,000 or
100,000. That's a lot.
Or 2 years imprisonment. If you are caught the second time, you pay, and then you pay 100,000, and then you go to jail. You are fined, and you also go to jail. And so it's a problem, because once you are a jailbird, you are a jailbird. So even whether you pay fine, you are still a jailbird. And if you go to jail, you are a jailbird. Why do you need to spoil your name, the name of your family, by through just that, practice? Why must you now end your life in jail because of culture? Why must you end your life in jail because of culture? So we need to let people know that what is bad, what is wrong is wrong. We preach to the conscience of people to know, because many people that are into this practice, they are ignorant. They don't know that it is wrong. That's why we are not even coming from the dimension of law. We have law. But we want people to have a good understanding of the harmful effect of female genital mutilation, preaching to their conscience. Once they know we are good people in Yoruba land, we are good people in Nigeria, once they know, they will not, want to continue. They will not want to continue when they know, once they know that it has no benefit, but full of hazards. You put the life of your child on the line because of culture. It is when you are alive that you can maintain culture. For you to maintain culture or to observe culture, you must first be alive. A dead person.
Okay, we lost that network. Okay, the network is breaking. We can barely hear you. We lost you again, Mrs. Abelawo. Yes, the network, obviously. The network keeps messing up. We can barely hear you. Okay, I think the network kicked her out. Okay. Oh, okay. She's still on. In case you can hear, Ma, you can just go ahead and we can hear you, though the network is not too okay. Okay, well, in the meantime, let me just say that as part of efforts as the network and the synergy we're talking about, I actually have two people who are also at the forefront of these advocacy against FGM. That is Asiwaju Dare. She's here, or he rather, I call him Asiwaju Adaramoye, and we have Flex Flame. I hope I get that name right this time around. The media advocates working with the UNICEF and UNFPA on these projects, abandoning FGM. They are the state representatives. So in the meantime, I think, okay, based on research, while we're waiting for Mrs. Obelawo to be back, I think the network in our area, well, it's a Nigerian problem. We hope we'll get that right one day. So Flex Film. I hope I'll get this name right one day. Really, I hope I'll get your name right one day. Okay, so thank you for joining us, and I'm going to bring you on the spot now because you have been at the forefront of this. You've worked with grassroots structures, though we're working in the southeastern parts of Nigeria, but it's all synergy, and we're working together. Can anybody hear me? Can everybody hear me, please? I want to be sure I'm not talking to myself alone. Please, if you can in the chat box, just signify so I will know I'm not just speaking to myself. Okay, thank you. Yes, I can see okay, at least that shows I'm not speaking to myself. So let's Fame. I'm bringing you on board now. You have to bring you on the spot because you are also working at the grassroots, working with some stakeholders at the grassroots. So you come and share your experiences with us. I guess Dare is out of the room already. Dare Adaramoye. Asiwaju. Okay, he's out. So, Felt Flame, can you unmute yourself, please? Yeah. Who is this?
Good evening.
Okay. Good evening. Comrade, I can call you. Yes. Okay. So don't worry, you can call the name as. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here to learn on some of the best practices and way people are using to engage to end the process of female genital mutilation. Will I say you are trying to set me up this evening, Ayotomiwa?
Well, we're trying to learn. Mrs. Obela was speaking from, she has been speaking from Osun State, which is the Yoruba part, and you have been at the forefront in the southeastern part of of Nigeria. So we need to share experience to know how it works, the peculiarity in each region. We are all for the same cause. That is why I have to bring you on the spot. While we are waiting for Mrs. Obela, or due to the network, I might just have to put a call through to be sure everything is fine. So can you share your experience with us? How receptive are the traditional leaders when you go to them with the message of, okay, let's end FGM? How receptive are they? And what is it like working with these traditional and grassroots structures in your region?
Okay, very quickly, the issue around female genital mutilation in the Southeast has a lot of peculiarities. I know in Imo and Ebonyi, these are the two states with the highest prevalence of female genital mutilation in the Southeast. And there are a lot of peculiarities. Like in Ebonyi, for example, they caught adolescents and then teenagers. While when you come to Imo State, they caught children, and it's always done before the 8th day after delivery of the female child. And if no intervention is done to rescue that baby, automatically there's a possibility that the baby will be caught. And another thing there is the traditional rulers are very supportive to ensure that the practice of female genital mutilation is put to an end. And we realize that female genital mutilation in the, especially in Imo State, is something that is done at the household level. If you're trying to end the practice there here in Imo, you need to start engaging the grassroots, like families, household members, for them to start changing their behaviors on the way they think around female genital mutilation. While when you come to Ebonyi, it's a cultural practice as well that requires you to engage more of the custodians of cultures, not really the traditional rulers, because they have another group in Ebonyi that are the custodians of cultures. They call them the kingmakers at times. They are the lawmakers. In fact, they are the lawmakers. They are the people that institute some cultures and traditions. They are people to abolish cultures and traditions as well. So when you engage these people, and you will get the results you want. And they've been very supportive. In Ebonyi, they've enacted some local sanctions to apprehend people after engaging this group of this set of people. Yeah, and also the traditional rulers are supporting and other religious bodies. The women group also is very, very important in the Southeast. We are using those as structures. They have this, we call an annual August meeting they do every August. They gather together to discuss developmental issues that affects women and the community at large. So we are also engaging these people. Through them, we've been able to move forward, and so many communities are currently denouncing the practice of female genital mutilation. So many households are denouncing the practice of female genital mutilation as a result of the engagement with this set of people. So this is just what's going on, what is an action and the approach we are using to tackle it. Thanks.
Okay, so let me take you on from, do we have, before I go on, do you have Mrs. Obela back on the platform, on the call?
I'm back.
Okay, well, Flexfame, I'm coming back to you. I actually noted something from what you said, so I'll come back to that. But let's take Mrs. Obela. So we at least we share experiences from different regions, and we reach a conclusion. So Ma, before the network messed up, well, the Nigeria network is, we hope we get it right one day. We're trying to look at how the traditional and religious culture structures, how receptive are they when you go to them with this message of let's end FGM? Flex Film was sharing his experience from the southeastern part of Nigeria, talking about how it is like in that region. So we need to look at the southwest, because unfortunately, out of the 5 states that are more predominant and more prevalent in Nigeria, southwest has 3. That is Oyo, Oshun, and Ekiti. Well, I think Oshun is number one, Ekiti number two, and Oyo number three. So we need to look at our region. How receptive are these traditional institutions when you go to them with this message of let's end FGM?
Thank you so much, Ayo. Let me put it on record that Oshun is no longer the first. Oshun is now in number 4. Yes, Oshun is no longer.
Okay, I need to lay my hands on the new statistics and the updates then. Thank you for that one.
Thank you. In Osun State, our traditional rulers and religious leaders have been so receptive. They have been so receptive because they have agreed with us that FGM should not continue in our society at this age. And we have had situations in some communities where traditional rulers drove away.
Leave.
Are you hearing me? I was
Yes, please.
trying to say that in some communities, we have traditional rulers driving out from their communities circumcisers because they have come to terms with us that they will no longer do that practice. We have seen in some communities where they have instituted their own sanction that if you are caught circumcising female children, you are going to pay, this. Some 40 liters of palm oil, 20 liters of palm oil. And then we have some traditional rulers that even conducted, survey on FGM in Osun State. For instance, the Eburu of Iba, on his own, he conducted survey on FGM and discovered that the rate is going down because of the efforts of you and I and other development workers. And so in Osun today, our traditional rulers, they are saying no to female genital mutilation, and they are cooperating. Even adjoining communities also where we have not reached are being reached by the traditional institutions. We have gotten the opportunity of engaging the Council of Traditional Rulers in Osun State. We went to their meeting and they enlisted their support to ensure that practice is not continued. And when you talk of religious leaders, they are the forefront in condemning female genital mutilation. We have the chief imam of in Osun and the chairman, League of Imams and Alpha in the Southwest, including Edo and Delta, Baba Sheikh Ajisafed that has passed on, condemning the practice. We have even the chief imam of Ansaruddin, of Nawaruddin in Osun today, campaigning against female genital mutilation. So our traditional rulers, they are the forefront. We are doing it together because looking at the issue of female genital mutilation critically, you will know that it originated from the communities, originated from the grassroots. And so if we are to tackle it, the effort must be community-led social change. That kind of social change that can put an effective end to the issue of female genital mutilation. And so the traditional institutions now are at the forefront campaigning against female genital mutilation. The same thing with the religious leaders. The pockets of resistance here and there, they are just minimal. They are minimal. Even though we cannot say that we have covered all the communities, we still have so many communities uncovered. And that's why the use of media is very, very important. Those that we cannot reach, the media are reaching them and they are agreeing with us. Today, we have a radio program, Ayo Bello was there.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I think I saw the video.
Yes. Every individual that caught today, they condemned it, the practice of FGM. In fact, we have people that are saying, I have female children, I circumcise them, nothing. Also, all those myths, they are being demystified by the community, by people, by the grassroots themselves. And that is an indication that we are, plow the right path. We are on the right track. And if we continue like that and we don't relax, then within some years, FGM will be a thing of the past because people are now aware. In those days, nobody can query the practice. They just pass it on from generation to generation. But today, people are asking questions. People are interested in discussing the issue of female genital mutilation. And the enlightenment are now there. People now know what they don't know before. They now know and they are saying no to female genital mutilation. So we are making progress and we are happy to report that. Oh, wow. You have lost me again. Ayo? You have lost me again?
Oh, well, that's really relieving. Okay, so you talked this. I can hear you. No, we can hear you. We are with you. Can you hear us? Hello, ma.
Okay.
Yes. Hello, Mr. Yes. Okay, I can hear you. Yes. I was going to ask you something from what you said. Enactment of local sanctions. That's similar to what Flex Film 2 said that is going on. These sanctions, who enforces it? Then from the structure you talked about, Council of Traditional Rulers, I'm yet to hear anything relating to the women group, maybe the Council of Oloris or and the likes. Are they involved in this as well?
They are involved because, working with the grassroots, you must first know the population of that community, particular community. Then you must know their governance structure. You must know clubs and associations, that are the CBOs. We have many of them that we work with because we have different type of them, the Fruit Sellers Association, the Clothes Sellers Association, the grinders, pepper grinders association. So we have them at the community level. And so we work with them. We have the Market Women Association. We work with them. So that's why we said that you must know the community. You must know the governance structure of the community, the institutions that are there in the community. Talk of traditional, talk of religious, talk of educational, and then the infrastructures in the community. There are some unintended benefits that we get and community also get. Because if you go to any community and you are talking of FGM, they may come up and tell you, that is not our priority now. We don't have water. We don't have light. We don't have hospital. Our women are dying. What can you do for us? And so we have been able to link community effectively to ministries and agencies of government, to development partners that can assist them. I'll give you an example. There is this community in local government of Osun State, Mowo community. When we first entered that community, what they told us was that, we will listen to you if you promise us that we us get social amenities that we are lacking. No road. They said we are disconnected. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you, but you are breaking. You're breaking though, but we can still hear you.
I'm talking about unintended benefits. And I said, for you to have effective intervention in any community, you must have it at the back of your mind that community will help you what you don't have, but you can link them to agencies of government that can assist them. I was talking about a community that said we are disconnected. Airports, we have to connect them with our agency for community and social development. Today they have access road. They've constructed mini bridge, and they can access their community easily. So I'm saying that you should know which infrastructure do they have, what are those that they don't have, and use your good offices to connect them. And so that is why it is important for anyone working to win them over. They will never forget you. They will be very, very endeared to the change you are asking them to effect. So I was trying to say that there are so many assessments that you need to do. You have to assess what people know, how they feel or do, having baseline information about the community, know about their festivals, know about their anniversaries, cultural celebrations like Oshun Osogbo festivals now.
Okay.
Yes, we have utilized that festival to preach on female genital mutilation.
I think Ayobelo also did something about or joined the Olojo festival in Ife too.
Yes, Olojo
Yes.
in Ife too. And that's why it is important for you to know the festivals in those communities. Also know the institutions that are there, schools. You work with schools. It's not just that you just enter, talk to them and go. Look at what they have that you can leverage upon to effect, to preach what you want to preach about, and then have a positive response. So we need to do that. We also need to consider social networks. We need to consider social networks, social capital, relationships within the community. Some communities are closely knitted together. Know those people that can help or hinder. Are we together?
People those that can help or hinder.
Those that can help or hinder, your program, what you're out to achieve. Because people, they interpret their faith differently. What to say that it is not good, it is harmful. To them, they may not see it as being harmful. They may see it as a good culture. Talking about rites of passage, they see it as it's a good culture. The other man was talking about rites of passage the other time. Before you can pass from girlhood to womanhood, you must be circumcised. So you must know. You must consider context, services, laws, and policy. There are some unwritten laws, even in communities. And FGM is one of the unwritten laws. The normative belief of people, you must know about it. Their normative belief and behavior. What is their disposition to the issue of female genital mutilation? Once you have the baseline, accurate baseline information about the people and the practice, you will be able to, to have successful intervention. I said the other time that the issue of FGM is an issue that should be in the public eye. Yes, that everybody must be interested. And so the grassroots, once it is a practice that emanated from the grassroots, some people will just sit down and say, hey, our women, how can our women be enjoying sex the same way we are enjoying sex? Let's come up with something to checkmate them. An individual person may be the origin of, the initiator of the practice we are talking about today. Just one person in his or our own wisdom. And so it becomes a law, and they pass it down generation after generation. But we are at the age where we must say no and let people know. It's nothing that we can enforce, that we can force on them. But once they let them know why it is not good, because not every community has adequate information about female genital mutilation. We still have a whole lot of communities that have no enough information. So I will be that
Enough
type of
information
information,
about it.
we must be able to pass it across, to reach out.
All right. Thank you so much for your comments and your responses so far. And I know some people have been joining us in the course of this session. And tonight we are treating the topic, working with the grassroots structure in ending FGM. And at some point I had to aside our key guest speaker for tonight, that is Mrs. Obelawo Fatima Taduke. Permit me to call the name like that. Aside her, we also had somebody who I had to bring on board to also share experience from his region. That is another advocate, that's Flex Fame as well. So, one major thing I picked from both speakers is that the grassroots structure, they are custodian of cultures. Yes, they are custodian of cultures. Then there's the enactment of local sanctions. That means the people are taking responsibility of this thing. Like, they are coming together to see that this affects us. This is not just about this is not about some development partners coming to our community. This is about also they are taking responsibility. The Council of Traditional Rulers in both regions, both the southwest and the southeastern part of Nigeria, that shows we are all fighting the same cause. And Mrs. Obelawo talked about some key things, some vital things to take note while being an advocate. She said we need to understand the governance structure of each community. Applicable in Ekiti, in a community in Ekiti, let's say Ado Ekiti, for example, is different from what is applicable in Osogbo. And you need to, as an advocate, as somebody working towards the eradication of FGM at the grassroots, you need to understand what works. Also, getting your allies on board. You mentioned the Council of Traditional Rulers and then the Market Women Association and all the women groups coming on board as well. They actually came out with local sanctions. That means within them, they are the allies within. So these are things we need to really pay attention to in our course. Then study the context law and know the festivals and institution of each community to work with. For example, Ekiti State has, Ado Ekiti has the Ujiroko. Osun Osogbo is there in Osogbo. Olojo Festival is there. Then even all over like that, we have different traditional all over that we can key into. But before I let you go, ma'am, based on your work as and your role as the state coordinator, as the Osun State coordinator of the Inter-African Community on eradication of harmful traditional practices affecting women and children in Osun State, what support, and please, we know that some of the effects of FGM has to do with the psychological and the emotional parts. Aside the physical part, with bleeding, excessive bleeding, death, keloid formation, the trauma, and everything that comes with it. The psychological and the emotional parts. What structures are being put in place to help survivors? We don't call them victims anymore. They are survivors. What structures are being put in place to help survivors overcome the trauma, the psychological and the emotional trauma that comes with FGM?
Thank you so very much. Yes.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
We thank you. I thank you very sincerely. And I thank the wife of the governor of Osun State, our Mama Alaja Kafayat Oyetola, for her efforts. She's leaving no stone unturned on the issue of female genital mutilation. And we also have Ministry of Women Affairs. They have Safe Home. They have dedicated lines. And then we have NGOs, civil society organizations like Value Female Network. They have a special line, designated line for survivors of female genital mutilation that they can call, and they have Safe Home for them. They have been so very effective on that aspect, and we still believe that many organizations, civil society organizations, will still come up to assist the survivors. Those are the ones we have in place now, but we are praying that more will still be done to provide psychosocial support for the survivor of female genital mutilation. Yes,
Okay,
and
well,
then the state hospital is also there. They have handled so many cases of female genital mutilation survivors having complications. We have been able to do that, and we have had NGOs that have come to Wesley Grid Elisha to do some repairs, operations to repair the damage, external genitalia of female. The people
the
came
female.
from Oyo State, from neighboring states. They came for that to be assisted by that NGO, and people that have VVF, they came and they did surgery, and they
For
tried
them.
to repair
Okay,
for
so
them.
there are helps. There people provide help from different corners for survivors of FGM. FlexFame, is that same in your region as well? What structures, what help are being provided to help the survivors psychologically and emotionally?
Okay, in the southeast, we have the Fistula Center in Abakaliki, whereby people with VVF are taken there for medical treatment. And also we do counseling section by the Imo State Ministry of Women Affairs and both Abakaliki State, Ebonyi State Ministry of Women Affairs. They render counseling services with people having psychological issues as a result of female genital mutilation. So these are these two structures I know for now that are put in place to respond to cases of female genital mutilation.
All right. So before I let you go and we wrap up the session with Mrs. Obelawo, you talked about public declaration. Communities are publicly coming out to declare that, okay, we are not doing this, we are no longer involved in FGM in our community. Beyond the public declaration, is there a follow-up structure? Is it not just mere lip service, like, okay, this is what the government wants us to do now, and this is what we want to say? Beyond that day, is there any follow-up structure in place to monitor that, okay, this is actually being enforced at this community?
Okay,
FlexWave.
I will say, yeah, I'm with you. It's not that it was something that the government wants them to do. It's something that they decided to do. Because before public declaration, there are a series of engagements with the community and a consensus building meeting where they reach a consensus that this practice should be um, um, denounced. Now, public declaration is not something that they say, yes, we have totally abandoned the practice. No, it's just trying to make the practice culturally illegal, that this is no more part of our culture and tradition. Anybody caught practicing female genital mutilation will be punished in line with their traditional sanctions. Also, there are mechanisms to ensure that people don't go back to the practice. The messages are reinforced during some traditional festivals, and also surveillance systems are put in place to track and monitor compliance to these things. In Ebonyi and Imo State, we have these structures on ground. We train the women group because the women group are very powerful and influential in the Southeast. They have structures from the community level to the grassroots, to the villages, families, and households. So with this, they track and ensure that nobody goes back to the practice and try to reinforce the message of not cutting. So this is one of the mechanisms being deployed in Imo and Ebonyi to see to it that people don't go back to FGM.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Well, I had to bring you on the spot. Yes, you know how we do now. So, Mrs. Obelawo, I will come back to you. You're a mother, you're a grandmother. And like you said in your word, you said women most times, when you want something to thrive, when you want something to continue, you just put it in the hands of women. Good and the bad, just put it in the hands of women. When you look at those who are at the forefront of this FGM practice, when there's a new child being born, usually the grandmother or the mother-in-law, yes, the mother-in-law and then the mother of either the father or the mother of the child are the ones saying, okay, you must do this. In most cases, we've seen cases where the wife will say, no, I don't want to cut my girl. But then the mother-in-law, who happens to be the grandmother, will say, no, you must do this. How do we convince women using your position as state coordinator at the forefront, and as a mother and a grandmother as well, as the state coordinator of Inter-African Committee on the Eradication of Harmful Traditional Practices against Women and Girls? How can we convince these women that when your child has a baby, let them decide what they want, and the girl should not be caught? How have you been doing this?
Thank you so much. The, the question is a very salient one, because we all know that those that the perpetrators are Muslim men, the mother's mother, the father's mother, and that's why we talk about and we employ strategy of intergenerational dialogue. We first talk to them at their own level, at their own group, the grand community. Talk to grandmother.
Okay, you are breaking. We can barely hear you, Ma.
Yes, intergenerational.
Okay.
You talk to. Are you hearing me now?
Okay,
Are
yes,
you hearing me now?
Yes, it's better now.
I was talking about intergenerational dialogue, that you meet individual, the groups, you meet them at
Okay, so the network makes it not so good.
To talk to them, to engage and have their buy-in. The male, the grandparents, you talk to them, who want to do can lead to death or destruction of his or her child. There is no human being that will be interested in doing that. And that's why I said the other time, we talk to them, we dialogue. We discover that when you engage people, you get their maximum support. You give them recognition. You let them know that they're important. You let them know that without their support, this thing we are advocating for, we cannot get it unless they cooperate. And so people, when you give them recognition, they are happy. When you tell them that they are important, they are very happy. So that is the strategy we use. Talk to them at the group level, have their buy-in, and then we converge together as the whole community and let them have the position of each group. I don't know whether you get what I'm trying to say.
Perfectly.
We don't just
bring them on board. Let them buy in. You don't just go to them and tell them, don't do this again.
At the same time, because their level of understanding,
Okay.
Hello.
The network. Okay, so yes, okay. It's good to know you're back. From what you're saying, you said one major thing I think is organize intergenerational dialogue with these mothers, these grandmothers. Yes, Ma, I can hear you now.
Thank you. So what I'm saying is that you meet them at the group level first and let them understand what you are saying. Have their buy-in. And then you now converge at the community level and let everybody know the position of each group. And so they now take their, unanimous decision on it. And so it becomes binding on everybody. So we have had grandmothers that we have been able to win their support. Many, many of them in all the communities we have entered, because we know that they are very, very important. They can hinder, they can help.
The fight. They can hinder, they can help. That is actually the keyword. That is why we need to have them on board. So what am I taking from what you just said about the grandmothers is diplomacy you
Yeah,
need their buy-in. So you need to be strategic about how you bring them on board to let them know that, okay, this
exactly.
is what you need to do to protect your grandchild, to protect your grandson, your
Exactly.
granddaughter, this and this. So first, you don't just go to them by being confrontational. You strategically win them over. I guess this
Ye-
strategy is applicable to all stakeholders in this wise. You strategically win them over to know that this
Exactly.
practice, why you're doing this, is for their own benefit, because you don't want them to lose their granddaughter, you don't want them to lose their daughter. Well, I guess we have to wrap up the session now, Mrs. Obelawo. So your final word and your advice to advocates and parents alike on abandoning FGM.
I want to use this medium to appeal to our parents and to every individual out there that God that created us, male and female, knows what He is doing. And He created us with every part of our body for specific purposes. And God cannot make mistakes. If we continue to circumcise our female children, we are destroying the work of God. And we are taking God as if He doesn't know what He's doing. God can never make a mistake. Let us leave our female children the way God has created them. They are complete. They are total. They are beautiful. Let them live their life in a very peaceful and progressive way. Do not mutilate. Leave them the way God has created them. Born complete, left complete. Abiye lomo wa o.
Me. All right. Thank you so much, Ma. And we are so grateful to have you on board despite your busy schedule. But before I wrap up the session, let me just do a brief recap of our take home tonight on FGM. Well, the summary has shown that FGM, that's female genital mutilation, is the procedure or process of tampering with the female genitalia, either the total or partial removal of the female genitalia for non-medical reasons. According, that's definition is according to WHO. This practice has so many effects on the girl child, both the immediate and on the long-term process. Some of these has to do with bleeding, excessive bleeding, keloid formation, death, protracted, prolonged labor, urinary infection, and so many others. And the thing is, this practice has no benefit whatsoever on the girl child. It has no benefit. Well, like as Mrs. Obela was opening the session, she said most of these people, the parents who perpetrate this, they do it out of ignorance, not like they want to harm their girl child. That is why we are enlightening them that, okay, this practice, we know that you love your child, but this practice, don't subject your daughter to it, because the effect it has on them, it's goes beyond what you think you're doing at the moment. And then it doesn't prevent promiscuity. Yes, let's say that at this point. It doesn't. It's about training. It's about how you train your child that will determine if the child will be promiscuous or not. So another major thing that I take on from while bringing FlexFilm and Mr. Bella on board is talking about enactment of local sanctions. That is, when you have the buy-in of relevant stakeholders, they will take responsibility of this and run with it. They will run with it and ensure that it works. These people come together as well, and they bring up these sanctions just as their own way of stopping FGM. Then we need to get the interventions of key stakeholders. We need to understand their governance structure. You need to understand the festival, know the festival and institution of each community that you can work with, that you can buy into. Then this practice is not beneficial to the girl child in any way. So let's end FGM. I really want to say a big thank you to everyone for being part of this session. I know how weekends can be. It's supposed to be a time for rest, but it's been a long way for us, but we have to keep doing this. Thank you so much, Mrs. Obelawo. Let me say I really appreciate having you on board. She's the state coordinator, that's Osun State Coordinator, Inter-African Committee, Nigeria, on the eradication of harmful practices affecting women and children. And FGM is one of it. We have so many harmful practices that is affecting women and children. We have the widows' rights. We have so many others. like that. Thank you for your time, Ma. We really appreciate having you on board.
Thank you.
And we
It's a
hope
pleasure.
we call you again. Yes, Ma.
Yes.
And we hope if we call you again,
I'm
you'll be here to respond and also have you on board. Thank you, Ma. And then
at your disposal.
to my dear colleague, yes, Ma, thank you. And to my dear colleague and the co-advocate, that's Flex Fame. Well, don't worry. I don't want I'll get your name right. Just permit me as it is. Flex Fame. Thank you so much. I know I actually ambushed you. You are not prepared for this. I just brought you on board and brought you on the spot. Thank you so much for your contribution as well, at least for enlightening us on what is peculiar in the southeastern part of Nigeria on this fight. Well, our session continues, but we are headed this, and the video recording, this recording will be on our Facebook page. That's My Initiative for Human Development. So in case you missed any part or any of our previous sessions, you can actually go there and get the video recording so that you catch up on what you've missed. And then, like I said, this is a series that continues. Yes, we're talking about FGM tonight. And on the 3rd, we'll be talking about another topic, that is mental health. SGBV, that's sexual and gender-based violence and mental health. We need to look at how to help survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, how these things affect their mental health and how they can get help professionally. We'll be having an expert on board. Also, we still have so many topics still lined up. So you just have to follow our platform so that you get yourself updated. I say thank you so much once again. My name is Ayotomiwa Ayodele, and to my team, my volunteers, thank you so much. I couldn't have done this or pulled this alone. It's all with your support. Thank you. Join us again on 3rd of December as we'll bring up another topic. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Well done.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And try to ease the momentum of the protesters, to try to minimize the amount of people taking to the streets demanding accountability. It's not clear if that would have any impact, especially because the anger is at the agreement more than the anger is directed more at the agreement and the fact that Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok signed an agreement in the first place.
The US is greatly concerned about the escalating conflict in Ethiopia and has called for urgent negotiations. The warning from the State Department follows a phone call between the Secretary of State and Kenya's President. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is believed to have joined the army on the front lines against Tigray rebels in the north. Forces are making gains. There are a series of gains made by rebels in Tigray, pushed into the
Bye.
and the far regions in the summer. Now there are highway important towns of Desi and Kombolcha last month. And this week they seized Shawarabit, a town just 220 kilometers northeast of the capital, Addis Ababa. Samuel Batachu is an independent journalist in Addis Ababa. He says the ruling party's